It's a story that happened to me many years ago in my village. The story was so famous that it was handed down forever. The purpose was also to warn people about cause and effect. About a few decades ago, there was a man named Yang in my village. He was rather lazy a person and hardly had a stable job. But lately, he was diligent. Every day he would carry a big basket into the forest. It turned out that he had seen rabbits and came up with a cruel money-making idea that was to trap rabbits and sell their meat. He found rabbit burrows and deliberately set traps nearby with some food to lure them in. Before that, the rabbits were not hunted by anyone, so they were almost completely defenseless against anything, so the rabbits were painfully captured easily. But the rabbits did not satisfy Yang just yet. He thought they were too old and couldn't be sold because the meat was no longer tasty, so he would purposely reach into their burrow to find the baby rabbits. The baby bunnies no longer had older rabbits to protect them. Yang would easily catch the young rabbits lying in the burrow. They were born less than a month old, about the size of a hand. Yang looked at the young rabbits that had not yet grown all their fluff and felt satisfied. He thought their meat would be delicious, and he decided to sell them for twice the price than those of the older rabbits. Even though the rabbits struggled in pain, Yang didn't care but showed a sinister smile instead. He collected all the rabbits in the burrow and put them in the basket he carried with him. Some rabbits were still alive, some were dead. Rabbits were crammed inside Yang's basket. After seeing no more rabbits in the cave, he also started to go home and prepare to sell them at the market. In his heart, he was secretly glad for these victories. But there was an old saying that you would reap what you sow, and Yang did not know that disaster was about to occur to him. The fair that day also began to take place in the bustling city center. Almost everything needed was on sale. Yang also arranged for rabbits from old to young on the floor on a makeshift white towel. Since no one had ever sold rabbit meat before, the villagers also felt strange about it. According to Yang's sale, rabbit meat was both delicious and tender. So people did buy some to test it. At the end of the market day, holding a stack of coins in his hand, Yang happily counted them. The vegetable man sitting next to him felt that Yang was a bit callous. He thought that the young rabbits were too small. Why didn't Yang wait a little bit for them to grow? The other vegetable seller thought that catching and killing rabbits like that would result in retribution because the mind was too cruel. He advised Yang, but instead of thanking the man, Yang felt even more confused. He thought the man was selling vegetables and he was just jealous of him for making more money. Yang believed that no matter how old or young rabbits were, sooner or later they would be caught and sold anyway. So there was no need to wait or be benevolent about it. Making money was the most important thing, so he continued to sell rabbits without heeding the other man's words. That day Yang sold a lot of money. In the following days he also continued to hunt rabbits in the forest because rabbit meat was inherently delicious, so his business was also quite good. That night it was a bit hot because it was almost summer. Young people were sitting together to play cards and chat. In the distance, a strange figure was slowly approaching them with a limp and slow gait, gradually appearing from the darkness. One of the group turned to look. It was Yang. He carried the basket as usual. It seemed that Yang continued to go hunting in the forest. They meant to make him sit back and play for a while and then move on because it was just dawn. But Yang didn't react at all. He just stayed silent and exhaled with heavy, eerie breaths. Then Yang slowly turned his face towards them. His face was pale and gaunt, and his eyes were bloodshot like they were glowing in the night, making others shiver. This made the men who were playing cards suddenly panic and freeze. Obviously, Yang was having problems because he didn't look the same as usual. Then, Yang continued to drag his heavy footsteps and continued as if nothing had happened, nor did he speak a word, as if he were a corpse without a soul. Those who witnessed this moment also felt strange and a little creepy, but they didn't think much of it. The men whispered to each other and thought that Yang might be drunk. They thought that because he made so much money, he would also drink and gamble. And since earning a lot of money, Yang didn't often talk to anyone in the village anymore. They thought it was because he was too proud of himself and didn't see anyone as equals. So despite Yang's strange expressions, they still tried to curse him and told him to watch out for retribution for always killing small rabbits. They then continued to play cards and ignore him. Yang's figure gradually disappeared into the night. When they looked closely, it was clear that Yang was not just an ordinary drunk. The following day, in the village, no one saw him. At first, no one noticed, but as the days had passed on, they started to get a little concerned. Yang wouldn't go anywhere for so long from this remote village. They began to split up to look for him. People went to Yang's house and also found that the furniture was still intact. So Yang did not leave the village to go elsewhere, but where did he go? The whole village should team up to find Yang. Although he was normally a bit greedy, lazy and arrogant, everyone had lived together since childhood and they couldn't just leave him missing like that. After a whole day of searching everywhere, it was starting to get dark and there was still no trace of him. Just as they were about to give up, they heard a scream from afar. Everyone was shocked because a human body was found in front of everyone. That's right, it was Yang. Yang died, and his body was lying in the middle of the meadow, looking extremely pitiful. After taking a look at the body, it looked like he had been dead for a few days because there was a stench around it, and it was slowly decomposing. The bloodstains on the body's clothes had also dried. When they approached to take a closer look, everyone panicked when they saw his neck. It was ripped and it looked like something had bitten into it. The horrifying scene scared everyone. Yang's eyes widened as if he had seen something scary. The red blood vessels were also clearly visible. It looked like he got eaten by something even though he was still alive and felt the pain. This thing causes some people to vomit uncontrollably. Anyone would feel nauseous before the stench and having to see so much blood and flesh like that. At the time, another resident discovered strange things next to his body. He pointed towards the head of the body. Besides, strange things appeared. Perhaps that was also the cause of his death. Those were small blood-stained footprints that looked like the footprints of a rabbit. They were spread all over the ground near the bitten neck area. And after looking at the tracks, it seemed that the rabbits were the ones who caused this. It seemed like they escaped into the forest among a path. At this point, everyone started to think that Yang was being avenged by the rabbits. Because everyone searched everywhere, there was no clue of a fight or anyone that someone had harmed him at all. The villagers buried Yang and the murder case gradually fell into silence without any answers. But everyone in the village knew that Yang had received retribution for his actions.